everyone. My name is Goliki Polikov, and I'm a coordinator and instructor of IZI LLC in former Soviet Union, Bulgaria, Israel, and New Hampshire, USA. And here with me today for the interview, I'm very pleased to introduce the president of IZI LLC, Kamali Rafailovich. Welcome, Kamali.
Welcome. Thank you very much, Goya. Nice to meet with everybody.
So, Kamali, today I would like to talk about some of the things that are very, they are going to be interesting for those who just started Ho'oponopono, and probably they don't know the basis of Ho'oponopono, just heard something. So, could you please start with explaining how you were introduced to Ho'oponopono?
Well, there's a traditional Ho'oponopono. So in Hawaii, there's the traditional Ho'oponopono where you sit face to face with people. So Morna developed a self-identity through Ho'oponopono. So we're always going to be talking about the self-identity through Ho'oponopono. I met Morna when I was very young, and the self-identity through Ho'oponopono process had not come into any physical form. So we did it just through meditation. And then several years later, Morna began to write it down. So it was a long process to get it into the finished process, the 12-step process that we have. So.
And when you started, you said, when you said that I was very young, I was so jealous that, how come I wasn't so young to get to Ho'oponopono? And a lot of people having regrets about that. Like, how come I lived all my life and I haven't known about this? I could have corrected many things in my life, right? Have you had these conversations with people?
Sure.
So does it mean? Yeah, sure. Keep going.
Well, that's one of the things, the experiences that we have that we can apply this self-identity through Ho'oponopono process too. See, that my experience, if I regret this. I mean, I met Morna when I was 19 and began this, but I went through all kinds of stuff and I got to clean with it. Yeah. So we just are where we are. And that's the beautiful thing with Ho'oponopono. No matter what regrets we might have or jealousies that come up or whatever confusions, we can apply the process. We'll keep saying Ho'oponopono, but we're always talking the self-identity part.
Can we say that it doesn't matter how old you are, since you're introduced to Ho'oponopono now, that's your starting point? Is that correct?
Yeah, you're here. And we all are at the same point. Everybody, me, you, everybody's right now. It's only right now. Are we going to get to the cleaning? We call Ho'oponopono cleaning. Are we going to get to the cleaning? Are we going to get to applying this process or not? We all start right now. I can choose not to clean and get all caught up in things. So we're all right at the starting line in this moment. That's what it is.
Right. So it doesn't matter. You know about Ho'oponopono for 20 years. Knowing is one thing, and the cleaning itself, it's another thing, right?
Yeah.
So you have to kind of stick to it. Keep doing this. It all comes to
Sorry.
It all comes to the 100% responsibility. That's the concept of Ho'oponopono. Could you explain that, please?
When we say 100% responsibility, what we're talking about is that there's only us. So the baselines of the Ho'oponopono, two things basically. One is the identity, who we are, the conscious, subconscious, superconscious minds. Together we make up the self. And then it's the process, this petition, the Ho'oponopono. So there's nothing outside of ourself. Therefore, the problems within self, the solutions within self. So that 100% responsibility really is talking about if there's nothing outside of me, then I begin this process, this petition, only with myself. If I start blaming or looking outside, then that I'm caught up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that opportunity or to clean. I can understand that experience of something, my experience of something is what I take 100% responsibility for. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that hope one doesn't say you caused the car accident, but if you're involved in or see a car accident, for example, your experience of that is what you get to clean with. That's your 100%. I hear a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people say, I caused this, I caused my husband to do this, or my wife to do this. No, there's nothing outside of self. So, if nothing's outside of self, you're having an experience of everything, including your family, including situations. It's very
Mm-hmm.
specific. That's one of the things that I think people often don't quite understand what Ho'oponopono is saying.
So again, to recapture what you said is we are cleaning the experience. We are not causing something, right? That's correct to
We
say.
have that responsibility within ourselves to make amends. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
outside of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you remember that day when Mona told you about this whole phone?
Oh, I just met her. Somebody said to me, this friend I met, she says, "Oh, you should meet this lady that I work with." And I just took one look at Morna, one look. There was no discussion, just one look, and I went, "Oh, oh." It was just like, "Oh, I don't care what she does. I don't know what she does. I don't know anything." But it was like, "Oh, this is what I have to know this." There was
Mm-hmm.
no discussion. We meditated hours and hours and hours and days and
When you
hours.
were saying about the meditations with her, does it mean, do I understand correct that you were sitting with her doing the meditations and what, why did you do that?
Yeah, I know. A 19-year-old should be out running around crazy. Well, I did that too.
That's what I'm
Then I'd
saying.
send, of course, we would go out dancing crazy all over the place, but I would sit for hours, old school, on the floor. You don't move.
Oh,
Hours. You don't dare move. Oh boy,
mm,
that's an experience.
yeah. So, and you were the one who was watching her receiving that materials that we call self-identity through Ho'oponopono.
Well, years later, she began to write this down. I remember a conversation with her where she said, "It's time now to begin to put this down." So it came in over years.
Mhm.
With certain things, she had to meditate with every word and phrase, and that's why we're so specific when we teach this process that it be the copyright materials. Because every
Mhm.
word in there was meditated on. I know
Mhm.
I sat through most of it,
Yeah. So
years of meditation.
you were like a live, what do you say,
Oh, I witnessed it.
watcher
Yeah,
of,
absolutely.
yeah, witness, live witness.
And part of it, whatever my role is, so we all come in with certain gifts and talents. We
Hmm.
don't know why. But there we are, my role to do it, so I do it. Everybody does. If everybody does their part, no matter what it is, nobody's better, worse, then
Hmm.
we get the job done. So it's
Hmm.
my role to do that. I'm grateful. I enjoyed it, but we just all do our part.
It's so interesting when you're talking about Morna because it just uh, how would you say those relationships were mother-daughter or mother or maybe teacher and student? How would you say now?
Uh, I think people at first would often think that I was her daughter, but
Hmm.
I think it was definitely a teacher student, um, but with the understanding there's a responsibility. In other words, I'm there for a reason.
Hmm.
I'm there for a reason for myself first, my family, but then whatever my role is. Part of what happens when you apply Ho'oponopono, certain negative memories are set free, right? So
Hmm.
then you're open for inspiration. And that's how we begin to discover ourselves. That's the title of this thing. The title didn't start out self-identity through Ho'oponopono. She had many different sort of phrases, and then it came up. This is what happens. Every time you do Ho'oponopono, you begin to experience the self.